There's two things that happen around this time of year, and that is the holidays and too many birthdays for me to keep up with.
And when all of those require presents, it's extra stressful. That's why Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping and birthday shopping stress-free and joyful, with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else.
Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. Genuinely, I was going through so many book lovers presents, and I was like, I know this is supposed to be a present for someone else, but like, what if it was for me? But then they also have things for like diehard football fans, for foodies, mixologists, and avid gardeners. I have at least 5 avid gardeners in my life.
And when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses, which we are all about.
I had no idea about this. It wasn't until we were reading up about Uncommon Goods that with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. And they've donated more than $3 million to date. How is it that I feel better about shopping?
So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off your list today.
To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/booktalk.
That's uncommongoods.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK for 15% off.
Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Getting ready to step into your career era? Set yourself apart with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Hone your skills with apps like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and more, powered with the latest in creative AI. Students save over 55% so you can build a portfolio you're proud of. Launch your future with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Visit adobe.com/students to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Watch Squid Game, The Challenge Season 2, now playing only on Netflix.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your besties with a literary podcast that deep dives into your favorite novels. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and we're currently taking a break from our Airfire analysis to talk to book talker Cait Jacobs about their debut novel, The Princess Knight.
Cait grew up somewhere between the many farms and beaches of the North Fork of Long Island, New York. There, they found escape through the fictional worlds of books. Their love of literature inspired them to found Book Talk and the Bookington Book Club. When they aren't writing or scrolling on social media, they spend their time obsessing over theater, Dungeons & Dragons, and caring for their many dogs and pet snake, known professionally as Jake from Snake Farm.
You can find Cait sword fighting in the woods or on Instagram, TikTok, and all additional platforms at Cait's Books. Welcome, Cait.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. This is one where I'm like going to tell everyone that they have to watch the YouTube version of this because 1, background glorious, stunning, everything. 2, we're going to have to discuss your hair routine because that's also glorious. It looks so good.
Thank you. I don't know what I'm doing. It changes every time.
Cait, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. The Princess Knight is out, came out last week? I can't remember.
As of when we're recording this right now, 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It came out in Australia today.
Oh, exciting.
I'm getting all the dates mixed up in my head.
Yeah, well, it's a lot to keep straight, but congratulations. So excited for you.
Great audiobook, by the way.
Oh my gosh, the narrator is incredible.
Yeah.
I am in awe whenever I hear it.
They did a great job.
Thank you.
So for those of you who are not aware, The Princess Knight is about Clía, a princess who follows her should-have-been betrothed to a military academy. And when she enters this military academy, she's trying to win back a prince but ends up changing her goals in the process. So, Cait,
Before you go in the full question, I think I want to emphasize. Wait, are you frozen or are you just shocked with me?
I'm just shocked.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just, there was a blurb. We read a blurb that said it's legally blonde and medieval.
Knight's Tale and medievally blonde.
Yes.
I just wanted to throw that out there because immediately I think people are like, yes, know it.
I feel like that helps get the vibes out there very quickly.
Absolutely. Great vibes.
Yes.
So knowing that maybe was kind of the antithesis or the original thought behind the story, what initially drew you to the Princess Goes to a War School concept, and how did you decide the stakes for her should go beyond a simple love quest?
Yeah, so when I was coming up with the idea for this book, I really wanted to play around with I was playing around with a lot of rom-com archetypes, and one of the major ones is the typically like very feminine, girly, and dismissed female main character. So I knew I wanted to feature a character like that. And the medieval counterpart of that, in my mind, was definitely like a very feminine princess. And I love stories with fish out of water narratives, as well as kind of like an underdog type story. So I was trying to think, where would she be challenged the most? And where would she be dismissed so easily the most?
Yeah.
And naturally, I had to think of a military academy. Plus, there's definitely coming of age themes in it. And academies and schools in general are incredible places to really, quite literally and figuratively, test your characters.
Boy, do they.
They really do. So that was definitely the reason I want to write about a princess going to this type of military school. And then when it came to the actual stakes of the story, I adore fantasy. I love, specifically with fantasy, I love political intrigue. I love magic items. I love all of those aspects of it so much. It really draws me to the genre. And while I wanted this book to be fun and adventurous and, silly at times, I couldn't not delve into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So while I wanted the story to be about Clía trying to go after this prince, I still wanted to have some of those fun aspects. And I also wanted it to be very much, I've always been fascinated with stories of characters who are in love with the idea of a person or the idea of love.
Yeah.
And that was very much what I wanted to play with a bit. So that way she thinks that Clía thinks she's in a rom-com. She thinks that the stakes are she needs to win back this prince. But in reality, she needs to understand why she's actually going after that and what's motivating her to want to chase him.
Yeah.
As well as the political schemes that are both causing that and that are around their entire situation.
I really loved several aspects going in, like you kind of set up some things very quickly. And that's one, is she in love with the prince? Not necessarily. I really enjoyed that aspect because I feel like for me, it goes into what I struggle with is ego and the principle of the matter, where it's like, okay, but we were supposed to get married and it's okay that I don't love you.
Yeah.
However, you don't get to leave me. Like you don't, like that doesn't,
Exactly.
that doesn't work. And I thought that was such a fun aspect. And then, especially like you said with the political side, it's like prince meets princess. And normally people just kind of leave it at that, but that has consequences. Both of them have kingdoms that they need to be really aware of.
Yeah. I get so fascinated, like historically, with marriage is very much a political thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so fun to play around with that side of it in books and romantasy because, like, yes, he is batting out on this agreement to marry her. And like that hurts her personally because, hold on, do you think I'm not good enough? But also, like, her kingdom needs that for political reasons. Like, there is a religious faction that they need this marriage to, like, prove themselves as loyal to. And like, there's a whole bunch of ramifications. You can't just back out. This is going to affect lives.
And he's not backing out for love, which I also really appreciated that subverting expectations where it's like, oh no, like I was totally expecting I actually was in love with this other woman this entire time. And it's like, no, I need like a better political marriage.
Yeah, it's just like, this is not strategy wise what's best for me, actually. This book is like very like lighthearted and very silly and fun sometimes, but I love the political intrigue stuff. And like, even though it can be kind of more subtle and not as in-depth as a lot of other stories, it was just so fun with me to play with like, actually, like there's a lot of strategy with marriage. There's a lot of other factors than love. And love wasn't even something either of them were considering or caring about But those other factors are still major, and that's influencing both of them.
And that's also so relatable to our world. Like, yes, we maybe not be getting married for political reasons, but, you can't just go into a marriage for love only, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there has to be so many other thoughtful moments. And I think that's what made this book really relatable too, where it's not just, why are you laughing at me?
I'm sorry. I was like, really? I think I made the wrong choice.
Well, it's like,
I'm teasing. I'm making fun of myself.
okay, good. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, I know you and Emma have talked about future and everything, but it's like, it just doesn't come down to marriage, like love, right? It's like, that's what's relatable, especially like for me who is single and like looking for that life partner where it's like having to categorize, okay, well, what's the smart thing of like, can this last forever? And what are those personality traits, that you can apply to? But I think that's like, am I a medieval princess? No. In a war college? No. And yet somehow I was relating to these moments.
Yeah, no, I think also like, especially with Clía, she is dealing with a lot with both like her kingdom's expectations, but also like her parents' expectations and all of that. And I feel like even today, like when we're thinking about like who we want to spend our life with, there's always those factors of like, what will my family think? What will my friends think?
Yeah.
And like, how will this person meld with all these people who are already in my life? There's all those aspects, and that can kind of lead you to wanting to go with the safe option a lot of the time, which is very much what Clía wants to do.
Absolutely. It's funny. You mentioned that this book is fun, silly, lighthearted. And while it is, you're like, nah, let's not just keep it there. And for a note to the listener, the book definitely has themes of trauma and chronic pain, which we just don't see enough, like in the internalized ableism that we don't even begin to think about that in our real world, let alone in books. How did you approach weaving those deeper issues into what readers also read as like a really fun fantasy? And what were the challenges in balancing that lighthearted adventure with the serious emotional themes?
Yeah, so for me, I kind of like to think of it as I'm a very unserious person. However, all of those things that I wrote about are things that I've experienced myself, like with trauma, chronic pain, and then even with that internalized ableism, specifically, there's a lot of themes around feeling like you have to push through. Even if it's going to harm yourself and your body, and like that constant need of trying to be like everyone else, even though that is not being kind to yourself and you might be doing damage to yourself in doing that. And those are things that I've always really struggled with. So when I was working on this book, I really wanted to incorporate those. For some of them, it like, especially with trauma, it was done from a place of I've healed a lot, and I wanted to write characters that are like me and have them go on that healing journey that I've gone on and that I'm still going on.
Yeah.
And then with the chronic pain, internalized ableism, it was very much almost therapeutic for myself because I was writing that as I was experiencing it, specifically with the chronic pain. It was very early when I started dealing with my chronic pain that I started adding it into the book just as a way for me to deal with it. And it was very important that it was there, but also wasn't directly affecting the tone too much, because I think it's really important for people to see that, we can go through trauma, we can have chronic pain, we can struggle with thoughts about ourselves and have like these inner demons, these inner struggles, and still have a good time, fall in love, save the realm, and have silly, weird moments. Like my coping mechanism is joking. I love to make a joke about every single thing. And I think it's only fair that fictional characters get to do that as well.
Yes, I can like see the relatability in Amy's eyes with the chronic pain. You're like, I know.
Well, it's so funny because I loved Ronan's character. I really appreciated what he was going through and that pain. And when I read this question, because Jack wrote the first draft, I was like, oh, am I internalizing ableism? So yeah, I really, really related to Ronan. I'm sorry to hear that you were going through chronic pain. Cait, I understand that. That's like been the past 20 years of my life. So it hit home for me. And I think you did a fantastic job capturing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think people just kind of have, when people say chronic pain, like there's this idea of like the get over it, right? Well, it's like, well, we all have pain. And it's like, well, no, that's not how that works. The best comparison is like, periods, right? Not all periods are created equal, right? Some people have it way worse. Other people, is on the lighter side.
Yeah. Same with GI. Like anything, some people have IBS, some people don't. Some people have the way opposite of IBS that it's also called IBS. That's me. That's me.
We just got a lot of personal info with Amy.
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to like writing these things, it's so much more common than people it's spat. Like, so for me, like while I was writing Ronan's arc with chronic pain, when I was dealing with chronic pain, like it was very early in my journey of experiencing it. It was still something that I was not a new feeling for me, not something I was entirely new to, because my family has a history of chronic pain. And I grew up my entire life being very familiar with it in multiple different family members. And I was also diagnosed with an autoimmune disease when I was like 9 or 10.
Oh my God.
But I never had bad symptoms with it. But it's one of those things that when you get an autoimmune disease, people are like, well, this is your first. You're probably going to get more. So from a young age, I kind of had this mentality of seeing my family and having that and being like, well, I know what my future might look like now.
Yeah.
But that made it so much easier for me in writing the story and in going through Ronan's journey. And it also helped me in the sense where I had multiple different perspectives on chronic pain to look through. So there was my own experience as I was dealing with it, but then there was also my family members. I got to see them learn lessons with it and see them grow and understand it better. And that helped me have kind of have more tools to deal with it myself. And then therefore know exactly what I want to put Ronan through.
What I love about Ronan's arc and how you included him is not everyone's like you in that they have people in their lives who experience chronic pain and know what that looks like. So I really commend you for that, because I think it helps normalize for others who might be experiencing that. Like, this is not unusual, but it's also possible that people don't understand it. And it's its own form of representation, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with chronic pain, it's something that's just not talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Where, like, I think I was so lucky to grow up in the household that I did, in the sense that we did talk about it and we were very open about medical stuff. And I always had a good understanding of it. And it was always shocking to me to be talking to some friends and stuff and see that they had no knowledge of any of these types of things. And so it was very important to me and very exciting for me to be able to write Ronan so that hopefully there are people who maybe have not grown up around people to kind of explain this to them and walk them through it and support them, that they can at least see it with characters and they can understand they're not alone in that sense.
Yeah.
This is making me realize how much my family is like, oh, you take it, you take the pain, very Latin family based. And now I'm like, oh yeah, a number of the women in the family, the older generation, is like, they didn't get epidurals and they hold that like a badge of honor. Like it's like our duty to have pain.
Yeah.
I also like the solution that you have. Not solution, but like Rowan's journey at the end. It's not a solution, but there's a simple thing that is given to him that I was like, that's actually beautiful.
That was one of my favorite scenes to write. It came very later in edits, but it was so, like, it was healing for me to write that.
Yeah.
I think because there is, especially like, I think a lot of older generations have this mentality of you just have to push through. And that was something I had to unlearn and I'm still unlearning. My therapist, I think, has to tell me this at least every week. It was very nice for me to have that moment in the book to kind of be almost a physical reminder for Ronan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. With no good segue, we're going to shift from Ronan back to Clía. And Ronan feels like he constantly has to prove himself, even though that's like the last thing he needs to do. He's pushing through his pain. Well, Clía, on the other hand, everyone's like, you do need to prove yourself, lady. And she's doing so in a traditionally male-dominated environment, aka the Academy at Caisleán Cósta. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Wow. That's why we saved the question for her.
What quote-unquote princess tropes did you intentionally set out to subvert in Clía's character?
So I really, like I had mentioned before, where I really want to write about like a typically feminine or girly character. I really wanted to have that character go through an arc of becoming quote unquote strong, but also have those strengths come from a lot of those feminine traits, because I feel like so often when we have characters go through these journeys, specifically female characters, as they get stronger, they tend to turn their back on a lot of typically feminine things, or like there are notable moments where they will dismiss that kind of stuff. And I think, not every woman needs to be feminine. I think that's also important and good to show. That said, I think it's also important to show that women can be feminine and strong, and that those feminine hobbies and traits can be a strength. So specifically with Clía, she loves fashion. She loves sewing. And that is something that is a useful skill. It's useful in multiple different ways. And specifically on her journey, it has its uses with the issues that she faces at Caisleán Cósta. So that was the main thing I really wanted to focus on with that, as well as kind of having a character that doesn't need to be saved by anyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes does the saving. I was trying to toe the line between that while also still not going too far and making her this overly confident person.
Yeah.
Where she has confidence, but she also has very deep insecurities. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
And she doesn't need to perfectly, solve all of those insecurities by the end of her journey, because that's something that she'll be dealing with her entire life. But she just needs to learn certain things about it and slowly grow into herself. So those were a lot of the things I think I was focusing on.
Her insecurities made so much sense, like from the get-go, right? The way that her parents viewed her, and then through that, the entire kingdom might view her. The way that her betrothed, soon-to-be betrothed, leaves her because she's not good enough. Like, everything was very well set up for her insecurities. And it was, even to the end, when you like brought it up again, it just felt like the right moments and the right pacing for those insecurities. Like, it's not like, as I like to like kind of tease, like in books where it's like one penis can save them all. Like, my depression is suddenly cured after one epic night.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? And it's kind of like the penis didn't cure it. She has to cure it. And it's still like, it's not cured. It's something you have to address.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that like, especially like what you were saying with that is something that, I have always really had an issue with whenever I'd be reading stuff of I hate when they fall in love and that solves everything.
Yes.
Because that usually solves nothing. If anything, that might introduce more problems or instead bring up problems that like you thought you handled. Like, I really wanted to make sure that her romance journey was not going to be what heals her. Ronan's support helps her.
Yes.
It's not him alone healing her.
Yeah, and I feel like her healing journey, it's not complete because she's 18, 19.
Yeah.
You can't do that in a couple months at that age or at any age, to be frank.
Her brain's not done cooking.
No.
Yeah, her frontal lobe needs to develop a little bit more.
Exactly. What I liked, though, is the representation of her journey in her ideal dress.
Yeah.
That she's designed, that she starts out the story not knowing how to execute it and then being able to execute it by the end in a way that was completely outside the box of what she would have expected if she'd done it at the beginning of the book. And I felt that was really powerful as an image.
I am really glad because I really liked that part. That was like my favorite little aspect to keep developing during it, because she would be unable to make the perfect design with that dress that she was working on at the start because she didn't know herself enough. She didn't know what she wanted, who she was, or what she could possibly become. And having her explore that throughout her journey of exploring herself was very fun for me.
I mean, you have two amazing examples of imagery here, right? You have her dress and her creating that, but then you also have the stone that she finds, right? And then you have Ronan, who's actually, he didn't find that for her. He doesn't give her the magic behind it. He puts it in a sword, and she's the one who has to wield it. So you have like two great moments of this imagery that
Thank you.
You did great. Did great with.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I love a bejeweled sword. Again, like playing with that stone was just another fun area of playing with things that are typically feminine and dismissed.
Yeah.
And one thing that I kind of like to say that isn't, I'm like in my brain, I'm like, this isn't too spoilery to discuss, but like specifically with how she gets the stone. I remember I was talking with a friend who was reading an early draft, and he was like, well, why is she the one who gets it? And in my mind, I'm like, anyone could have really gotten it. It's just she's the only one who would have noticed and would have found it. It's specifically because of her personality and because of those feminine traits that she gets it. And then it's also fun because I got to have fun and have this powerful stone be pink and like very rose quartz-esque.
Yes.
And really drive that home.
That was so relatable of like, that's a pretty pink stone. I'm going to bring that home. Yeah.
I want that.
Clía would be a crystal girly, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my collection of crystals over to the side.
Same.
So
I have them like right on my desk, and I'm like, that's in honor of Clía.
Hang tight. We'll be back faster than a smoldering stare across a battlefield.
Amy, we're about to go to a book conference, and I will give you one guess as to what pair of shoes I'm bringing.
I bet it is your Vionic Walk Slim sneakers.
How did you know?
Because I have those too, and they are so amazing.
We're going to be matching.
We are. What I love about my Walk Slims is the sleek, low profile and the built-in orthotics. I love not having to switch out orthotics from shoe to shoe.
This is the ultimate shoe for me.
I didn't know I cared about orthotics until these shoes, and now my feet are able to walk for an insane amount of time. And it's not just these cool sneakers, but they also have these amazing Uptown loafers. Their Uptown loafers are perfect for these autumn bookish events that we've been going to because it looks really cool and they can fold flat, which has been making packing so much easier when we go to these conventions.
What's great about Vionic shoes is their exclusive VO motion technology, which has revolutionized medical orthotics. They even offer a 30-day guarantee so that you can wear them, love them, or return them for a full refund within 30 days. Who does that?
People who have full confidence in their product, as they should. And right now, you can use code BOOKTALK at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account.
Use code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK, at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account. One-time use only.
Vionic Shoes, wearable well-being for your feet. There's two things that happen around this time of year, and that is the holidays and too many birthdays for me to keep up with.
And when all of those require presents, it's extra stressful. That's why Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping and birthday shopping stress-free and joyful, with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else.
Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. Genuinely, I was going through so many book lovers presents and I was like, I know this is supposed to be a present for someone else, but like, what if it was for me? But then they also have things for like diehard football fans, for foodies, mixologists, and avid gardeners. I have at least 5 avid gardeners in my life.
And when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses, which we are all about.
I had no idea about this. It wasn't until we were reading up about Uncommon Goods that with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. And they've donated more than $3 million to date. How is it that I feel better about shopping?
So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off your list today.
To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/booktalk.
That's uncommongoods.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for 15% off.
Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. I've developed a new morning routine that makes me feel absolutely ready for the day, and it always starts with AG1. AG1 Next Gen is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and fill in common nutrition gaps.
The problem with the holiday season coming up is that I love to eat sugar, and if I'm not careful, that's all I consume. That's why I consume AG1.
With 5 probiotic strains and over 75 vitamins and minerals, AG1 Next Gen replaces the need for multivitamin, probiotics, and more. And it actually tastes good.
What I love about AG1 is that it replaces all the different supplements I would normally take in pill form, and it's so much easier to drink a drink than take 10 pills.
AG1 Next Gen is helping raise the standard because they have so many multiple gold standard clinical trials. And all of that in an industry where not everyone invests heavily in research. They go to great lengths with their rigorous peer-reviewed clinical trials.
What I love about investing in AG1 is that it's flexible and risk-free. I can adjust, update, or cancel my membership at any time. There's also a 90-day money-back guarantee, and it's FSA and HSA eligible via TrueMed.
Head to drinkag1.com/booktalk to get a free welcome kit with an AG1 flavor sampler and a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 when you first subscribe.
That's drinkag1.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK. Stay one scoop ahead with your AG1.
I have been looking for a multivitamin for a really long time, and Ritual has actually always been on my list to check out. And I am so happy that we are partnering with them today because Ritual's essential multis have the nutrients most of us don't get from our food and all in their clean, absorbable forms.
They're super heavily researched, and there's no shady additives or ingredients that do more harm to your body, which is exactly what I need because I already do enough harm to my body.
And I'm right there with you. I use the Ritual Essential for Women 18 plus, but I also really love their daily protein because getting protein is a full-time job and Ritual helps me.
I've been loving their Symbiotic Plus gut health because, as all of you know, my gut hates me. It gives you the necessary prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics for a healthy system.
Their Essential for Women 18 Plus Multi contains 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day.
Ritual's multivitamins are vegan, non-GMO, project verified, gluten, and made allergen-free. And even if you don't think you need those things, trust me, you need those things.
Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health.
Get 25% off your first month only at ritual.com/booktalk.
Start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18 Plus to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK for 25% off. So another part you're talking about like having fun with, and another aspect going back to the war college, you really had a lot of fun with it. And we've seen so many variations of war colleges, and it's always, you know, this ruthless, brutal, intense thing. And like, it still is, but you make it fun and unique. And how did you go about constructing just like the world in general? Like, what was your process for deciding what kind of military training fantasy you wanted to evoke? And how did you go about making the academy feel real? Because it's still filled with like college age kids that are still having fun.
Yeah. I think like just the fact of like the age of the people there was a very important thing for me when creating that military academy of like, these are, yes, some of the best warriors in the continent, but they're also a bunch of nobles as well that are just at the right age.
Yeah.
So you're going to have like a very interesting like group of characters there. And then I also had a lot of fun in general with building the world, with playing with Irish folklore. So I absolutely adore Irish folklore. It is one of my favorite things. And that was a big inspiration for the world building. And Irish folklore, I feel like, has the perfect balance of whimsy and fun and interesting things, as well as like,
terrifying.
You know, there's violence, there's death, there is horrifying things, horrifying creatures, which is so fun. So I really tried to channel that energy a little bit, not a perfect one-to-one, but definitely play with it when I could. And specifically with the school, with Caisleán Cósta, another thing that I think I really wanted to play around with and explore was the fact that Caisleán Cósta isn't just a typical military academy, but it's actually a religious-run institution. And so in the world of the Princess Knight, each kingdom has a patron god. And I don't know, it's not super in depth or explored in the book, but they all have certain institutions in each kingdom for that god. And Caisleán Cósta is the religious institution for the god of war and death, Rian. And so that was, I think, another area where I got to make it a little bit more my own. And a little bit more different from any other typical war college type setting, because this is run by druids and generals. And then you also have, this isn't a typical religious institution because they worship a god of war and death. So what would that worship look like? And it would look like training more warriors. It would look like trying to get people to follow into the path of that god. And so that was, I went to Catholic school. So I was just like, how can I channel all of the different things I experienced during that into this?
Yep. Also, the fact that royals can go, and just the way that was handled too, where it's like, hey, royals should go. They can go. The opportunity is there. And they can train. But then when it's like, oh, things are dangerous, we actually can't risk you. I feel like that was realistic also, where it's like, you know, you should train. Ooh, but you're still a royal.
You are still...
Go hide now.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I will send them out on like a quest that is a little bit dangerous, but like, I'm going to send them with people to watch them. And like, once the war is actually here, it's like, nope, you are the heirs to your kingdom. Like, that will be a huge problem if you die. Like, the political ramifications of this go a lot further. We need you safe.
Yeah, I really appreciate how realistic that approach is versus, you know, the prince leading the army or the princess leading the quest or whatever the case is. I feel like it definitely took a more real world approach of the president's the first one in the bunker, or, you know, these people are the first ones who are getting put in a safe place.
Yeah, like Clía is the sole heir of her kingdom.
Yeah.
If she dies...
Yeah. It's a problem.
That would cause so many problems.
So true.
At least like Donal has a sister. So like if he dies,
Meh.
The world won't end, but it'll still cause some problems.
There was a solution the whole time. Cait, for readers on Book Talk and your own Book Talk roots, representation matters, and your characters bring such an amazing array of diversity. We've already talked about ableism and Ronin. Did you know from the get-go that your world would be diverse and a welcoming one? And how much was it intentional versus natural, but also intentional? Does that make sense?
It definitely made sense. So when I was first working on the book, I knew I wanted it to feature a diverse cast. That was always a thought in my mind and always a goal of mine. Specifically, I wrote this first draft in 2018. The world in 2018.
Different.
So I really wanted to have kind of this safe place. And I want this to be a world with no homophobia, no transphobia, no racism.
Yeah.
But that is something that definitely had to be very intentional and had to be thought through. It was interesting because in the first draft, I put a lot of attention and care into it. But then through every draft, I kept thinking about it even deeper and finding new levels to really make sure this is a through line in the entire world building. Specifically, with the gods, none of the gods are gendered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having things like that of just small details later on of being hold on, why?
Dude, I suck. You're right. They're not gendered. Sorry. I'm mad at myself right now.
They're all just called gods. That was actually a great suggestion. That came very late. That came, I believe, from my copy editor, noticing that. And then we were discussing how we would do that, specifically because at that point there was already a non-binary god and figuring out how we were going to deal with gender neutrality in a deity and what they would be referred to. And same with titles, noble titles. How would you deal with gender neutrality in that when it is unfortunately very gendered?
Yeah.
And so it was something that led to a lot of research, and it was definitely, there was a lot of focus and effort in making sure that I still succeeded in my goal of making it a safe place and something realistic to our world, but better, kind of, but also making sure it's a through line and it makes sense for the world building as well, because there are so many things that we don't think of that are due to homophobia and due to kind of heteronormativity and also gender roles that we know. And it's even a thing where I had to then decide what gender roles I was going to be teabagging and how that would actually affect the world, and theoretically how that could still be something, how certain aspects of misogyny could still persist in this world without heteronormativity. And it was a very interesting line to try to walk.
One thing that we always love to talk about on the podcast is that while it's great that fantasy books can reflect real world issues that we get to address in a safer fantasy setting, we also have the choice, we as authors, I'm putting myself out there, but we also have a choice to decide what that world is. And if we want that world to say, okay, look, there's so many other issues that we can have it reflect. It doesn't need to be homophobic, transphobic, there are these other parts that it's a fantasy book. It can be whatever you want it to be. And it can still play with these really heavy, relatable things. But now you just created a safer space that's still dangerous. You did a good job at this.
Great job.
Yeah. It is definitely a choice to include all those aspects. It is, I think, the default choice for a lot of people because it's just what everyone knows. So oftentimes they will default to writing worlds like what we've experienced, or specifically with fantasy, a lot of times people are basing it off of historical time periods. So it's very easy to kind of default into that. But it is a choice. And for me, I figured, why would I make that choice? There's no benefit to it. And it offers, for this story in particular, I think there are some stories where it definitely is a benefit to have those aspects of our world because that's the story you want to tell. And that is what you want to unpack and discuss. But for this specific story, for this journey, and for the themes I want to discuss, it wasn't necessary. So why not have it be a safe place?
Yeah, it's such a good point. It is, where it's if this isn't a big contributing factor, then why is it not more diverse and accepting? If it's not adding to the plot, then why aren't we spending time adding to the reader experience?
Exactly. And I do recognize that specifically with writing diverse worlds and also trying to include specifically for like authors who are writing based not in their own experience, it can be very challenging in that you have to put in a lot of work to do it, to make it safe for the reader and to not actually perpetuate harm accidentally. But the work is worth it. And specifically so readers can see characters like themselves and have characters with similar experiences as them. It's always worth it. You just have to make sure you actually put in the work.
Right. Instead of make assumptions.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So the world of The Princess Knight explores systemic barriers, whether that's rigid traditions of the academy, gender expectations, kind of the things that we were discussing, and class barriers. It seems like you've really talked about how much intention and thought you put into this from the very start. And you also kind of mentioned about how it's evolved, but how did that impact Clía and Ronan's relationship as well? Like, how did that evolve throughout the whole writing process? And how do you see fantasy as a vehicle for integrating those real world hierarchies?
Interrogating, not integrating.
Oh, I don't have my glasses on because I don't like how it reflects and I can't get the light right. So that.
Yeah. So I feel like fantasy is a perfect genre to discuss these types of things because you're able to separate it a little bit from our world enough to get people to, buy in and they're interested in these other plots. And then you can sneak it in there.
Yeah.
I love to think of fantasy as a perfect way to trick people into thinking about things they wouldn't normally think about.
Yeah.
So when it came to all these different hierarchies, I really wanted to explore them. And I feel like it was something that is very prevalent with Clía and Ronan's relationship and their dynamic. And also in a way with Ronan and Donal, the prince. Because there is definitely class barriers. There is a lot of issues, specifically with Ronan. He is, as he and Clía are starting to get closer, he's very aware that politically he's not a good match for her. Like from a typical princess needs to marry someone politically who can offer a kingdom, who can offer trade, who can offer something to make it beneficial to her kingdom. So he is very aware of that. And that was something that I really wanted to kind of explore, as well as Clía is very privileged and she's very naive. And this book is about her breaking out of that bubble and realizing by exploring the world and experiencing different aspects of the world, just how little she knows and perhaps how wrong she and specifically her parents are in how they rule and how they manage their kingdom. So a lot of this book is Clía slowly realizing everything else going on. And it is kind of an interesting thing because Clía is very complicit in her parents not being great rulers. And there is also, like, specifically with regards to how her parents rule, there is a bit of, they are much more isolationist and they are not very supportive of their neighbors. For Prince Donal's kingdom, Stalka, is dealing with these invasions and they are having villages raided and they are needing to help rebuild. And Clea's parents are doing nothing. And Clía was so privileged and so in her own little bubble that she wasn't even aware of this. And this is something she would have cared about, but she didn't even take the effort to learn that this was happening. And so I really wanted to kind of explore how, like, these naive characters and how these very privileged characters can grow and change and what they should be doing and how they can kind of reckon with learning this new information and learning that they have inadvertently supported things that go against what they normally would support. And it was very interesting to get to explore that, and specifically with Clía and Ronan's friendship and then later relationship, he's kind of the one who breaks the news to her a lot of like, hey, this kind of sucked. And then you can also even see it with Saray as well. Saray is one of the characters who, there's some of the few people who will call Clía out to her face. I feel like a lot of this book is Clía being called out to her face, and it is much needed.
It is much needed. I mean, it's kind of, again, very similar to the real world where, look, people can't help that they were born into privilege. But at a certain point, it is up to you to make that jump and educate yourself and have that empathy. And while Clía didn't do the initial, like, deeper thinking, once it was brought to her and it was put in her face, she absolutely stepped up to the challenge. And that's something where, I think that was also, you provided a safe space for that, where it's not like tons of shaming of being like, how dare you not know? Which it's like, again, you should have known, but like, I can understand you're in a safe, privileged spot. You don't understand, but now that you're here,
Yeah.
what are you going to do to step up?
Exactly. That's the important question in these types of things of like, yes, you didn't know. And like, I'm always someone who I like to give the benefit of the doubt of like, you didn't know. That's understandable. But now what are you going to do now that you do know?
Yeah.
How are you going to change? How are you going to move forward? And that is a question that Clía has to ask herself during the course of this book is how is she going to change? How is she going to address this? How is she going to right these wrongs?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What I like about Clea's story is that it kind of portrays those with privilege. It kind of gives a sense of like comfort in the sense that like you can do it and you can be safe doing it and people can support you doing it, even if they're the ones who called you out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. That being called out for your privilege, it's easy to be defensive, but it doesn't have to be an attack. And you don't have to be defensive because all it's about is education.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very much like, there'll be like discussions of like call out versus call in. These are her friends. These are the people who love and support her. And they're calling her in and they're like, listen, like this is messed up and there needs to be some change here. And Clía, because they're doing it from the point of view of being her friends and they're doing this from the point of view of they're not judging her. Like one of the first things Ronan ever says is that he'll never judge her. And that's not what he's there for. And so that then makes it a lot easier for her to change.
Yeah.
But I think for different characters, for different people, even with people going about it as nice as possible, which also like the people who are in a place of less privilege do not owe you that niceness. That's not, Clía was lucky in this that they love and support her, but she was not owed that.
It's not their job to educate. It is.
Yeah, she was not owed that. They could have like yelled at her and that would have been fair game. But in this case, no matter how you're being told that, it's so important to recognize from a point of like, this is a moment for you to grow, not a moment for you to get defensive. You need to look at it from a future standpoint, not look at the past.
I agree. Speaking of future standpoint, thank you so much, Cait, for your time. Before we wrap up, do you have any upcoming projects or events you would like our listeners to know about or your readers to know about?
Yeah, there's nothing I can really talk about just yet, but I'm always working on new projects. I've been working on separate, uncontracted, just fun work in progress lately. And I have a few other things that I'm working on. So yeah, there's nothing I can officially say, but definitely follow, watch my space, and hopefully one day there will be something. Otherwise, I'll just update you on my thoughts on Witted for Good or whatever. That's the real event that I need to make sure everyone's aware of. This is actually just marketing for Witted for Good.
I am already watching it. I'm already going to be there. So yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so, so much. Really appreciate you taking your time and for coming on. And, it's such a fun book, but there's so many amazing, deeper themes and issues that you addressed, and definitely recommend everyone to read it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the special episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or in a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Join us as we keep the analysis going by subscribing to our Substack to get more insights on the romantasy and romance world. Head to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com.
Bye. I've developed a new morning routine that makes me feel absolutely ready for the day, and it always starts with AG1. AG1 Next Gen is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and fill in common nutrition gaps.
The problem with the holiday season coming up is that I love to eat sugar, and if I'm not careful, that's all I consume. That's why I consume AG1.
With 5 probiotic strains and over 75 vitamins and minerals, AG1 Next Gen replaces the need for multivitamin, probiotics, and more. And it actually tastes good.
What I love about AG1 is that it replaces all the different supplements I would normally take in pill form, and it's so much easier to drink a drink than take 10 pills.
AG1 Next Gen is helping raise the standard because they have so many multiple gold standard clinical trials. And all of that in an industry where not everyone invests heavily in research. They go to great lengths with their rigorous peer-reviewed clinical trials.
What I love about investing in AG1 is that it's flexible and risk-free. I can adjust, update, or cancel my membership at any time. There's also a 90-day money-back guarantee, and it's FSA and HSA eligible via TrueMed.
Head to drinkag1.com/booktalk to get a free welcome kit with an AG1 flavor sampler and a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 when you first subscribe.
That's drinkag1.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK. Stay one scoop ahead with your AG1.
I have been looking for a multivitamin for a really long time, and Ritual has actually always been on my list to check out. And I am so happy that we are partnering with them today because Ritual's Essential Multis have the nutrients most of us don't get from our food and all in their clean, absorbable forms.
They're super heavily researched, and there's no shady additives or ingredients that do more harm to your body, which is exactly what I need because I already do enough harm to my body.
And I'm right there with you. I use the Ritual Essential for Women 18 plus, but I also really love their daily protein because getting protein is a full-time job and Ritual helps me.
I've been loving their Synbiotic Plus gut health because, as all of you know, my gut hates me. It gives you the necessary prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics for a healthy system.
Their Essential for Women 18 Plus multi contains 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day.
Ritual's multivitamins are vegan, non-GMO, project verified, gluten, and made allergen-free. And even if you don't think you need those things, trust me, you need those things.
Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health.
Get 25% off your first month only at ritual.com/booktalk.
Start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18 plus to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK for 25% off.